Alright, we're here in the shop with Jack Wilkin at Seattle Boat Works, and he is doing a demonstration of how to make nice smooth corners when you're taping around any kind of deck hardware like cleats when you're taping off in preparation to do your renewed non-skid. So you're going to use a circular object, and you're basically just connecting the two tape lines there to make a nice even circle.
Yeah, we've got inside corners and outside corners.
So now Jack's coming around the corner doing an inside corner with 1/4 inch vinyl tape. So he's just going nice and easy, and it'll produce a nice smooth corner. So when you're painting in prep for the non-skid, you've got a smooth surface to paint around, and when you pull the tape up, it'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's your inside corner.
And as we said in the article, when you put this tape down, you put it down in order so that when you go to pull it up, it all comes up one piece after another, and that this will come up with it.
Good. Do an outside corner.
Yeah, but I got a little corner there. See, I got a little space. If I don't do that, I'm going to wind up with non-skid. Anything I don't tape, I'm going to wind up with non-skid on.
Got it.
And now the outside corner.
Here, Jack's going to do the outside corner with the 1/4 inch vinyl tape. Just following the pencil line that he used that bottle to create. And the more accurate you can be with this stuff, the better your non-skid will look when it's all said and done. Okay, so Jack, you were just saying you want to make sure that you've got your non-skid material ready before you start to paint, so
Right.
you're not wasting the time when the paint is wet. So looking in here, this is bulk walnut shells, is that correct?
Yeah, this is they sell this as an abrasive for sandblasting.
Okay.
Or some kind of blasting. Yeah.
And then
this is just this yogurt.
it's just a yogurt container.
That I drilled holes in. And the way I found out what size holes is I drilled about 6 holes, and I put a little bit of that in there, and I just shook it to see whether it would come out easily. And at the beginning it wasn't big enough. And in the article it actually tells the drill size I used for this stuff.
Yeah.
But each material or each weight that you use is going to be different.
Yeah.
So I just make a few holes and then put some stuff in there and see if it'll shake out. Like this does, obviously, because I've already done it.
Yeah. Great.
Okay,
So we got that material prepped, and
all ready to go.
we've got our section here taped, and also as far as sections go, Jack, you were just saying that you recommend being a little conservative with the size of the section, just because if it gets too big, it's hard to get it all laid down in time.
If it's too big, you're not going to get you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You won't be able to paint it all and then come back and still have it, especially if it's hot out.
Yep.
If it's hot, it's not going to happen. I mean, some paints dry a little slower. Like if you use an enamel or something, typically we'd use a linear polyurethane.
Okay.
On the deck. And if it's a deck that we're worried about and we really want it to last, we use a 2-part.
Okay.
Material.
And you were also saying that you might likely use the same paint to paint down into the section as you will eventually over the non-skid.
Right. So what we have here now is the surface taped off, that when we paint inside this surface, then we're going to shake the non-skid on that whole surface.
Got it.
Okay?
All right.
It needs to be a good thick coat, and I don't find that like rolling it gives me what I want usually.
Okay, you prefer to use a brush.
So I use
to achieve
just a brush, and I don't worry a lot about brushing it out, because I want the paint to be thick. I want it to be even, but I want there to be a lot of paint on there. So you can see I'm laying it on there, and I'm brushing it out so it's even. But what I'm not doing is you can see I could go a lot farther here with this paint. But I don't do that because I won't wind up with the thickness of paint that I want.
Because you really need a thicker viscosity of paint in order to kind of catch the non-skid, catch the walnut shells. Yeah. Got it. All right.
And it's really important that when you do this, what's going to happen is the paint's going to soak into the grit that you're using, whatever you're using, and you're going to see the paint soak up through it. So you'll see the paint itself. And what you want to do is keep putting this on until you don't see any paint at all coming through, so that you don't see any wet spots through the grit.
And so just watching you do this, knowing how thick you want it to be, it looks like there's almost no amount that would be too much.
That's right. The only reason it would be too much is that you maybe don't want to waste it or something like that. But I mean, this stuff is not very expensive anyhow.
All right, so we've got a nice thick section going on there, and
of course I started where I started painting because
that was the section drying first. But different paints you get will have different speeds of drying.
They will, and as I said, it's also about you don't want to do this probably in the direct sun because it's going to. The next coat you could do in the direct sun because you aren't too worried about how quick it goes off. But this coat, you're worried that it's going to go off too quick.
Sure.
That you won't get this shaken in there.
So you can see this is a little time consuming in order to do it right, but as Jack was saying in the article, if you don't put enough on here, it's not going to adhere evenly, and you'll have thin spots, which makes for worse grip once you paint it over the top of it.
Well, and it's not very aesthetic either, is it?
Alright, so here we've got pretty much the whole section, and as we get up close here, you can see this is really a very thick coating, except we've missed a couple of spots there in the middle, and so that even that amount of paint showing through, even though there's quite a bit of non-skid on there, or walnut shells on there, that will eventually be vacuumed up and be thin in those areas and uneven, affecting the function and the aesthetic. So Jack will cover that up here with his yogurt container salt shaker. Okay, so Jack, we've laid a nice coat here. So what would be our next steps?
So now we need this to dry, but before we let it dry even, we're going to pull the tape. Because while that edge is still wet, then that tape edge should come out really nice and clean.
Great.
Then we want to let all of this dry before we start vacuuming it at all. Mm-hmm. We're going to vacuum up all the excess. And you want to probably let it dry. You certainly want to go past where it says touch dry. Mm-hmm. You want to go farther than that. You don't have to go to full cure. So a lot of paints will dry in 24 hours, cure in 72 hours, or excuse me, in 7 days. Because paints are curing for a long time after they touch dry. So I'd probably let it go 2 days before I go open it. Now, if it's a faster paint, if it goes off in 4 hours, it's touch dry, then I'd probably just double that and go to 8 hours. Mm-hmm. You want that really solid in there. Then you're going to go over it with the vacuum, not grinding the vacuum, not any sharp edges on the vacuum tube or anything, or a fitting on the end of the vacuum that's going to actually dig into it, and like a brush or keeping the vacuum away from the surface. You're going to do the whole vacuum, the whole thing, and then the next time, the next coat's going to go on not only on the sand but on the gutters as well.
Got it.
Okay, and let's say you're doing that and some sand comes off, or some walnut shell comes off into the paintbrush, and you see it on the gutter. If you just brush towards the sand, you should be able to just move that right out of the gutter.
Okay.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, makes sense. And because of this sort of like section by section with the drying time, one of the things that you mentioned in your article is that non-skid is a good project to do little by little. You know, do a little bit after work, go sailing over the weekend, come back to more sections.
1 week you do one section.
Yeah.
Then you go sailing. Next week you do another section. Then you go sailing. You know, and it's the end. And then you go sailing. That's the important part. Right?
Indeed. All right. Thanks, Jack.
Okay.